Panasonic, one of the leading manufacturers of VHS VCRs in the 1980s, 1990s, even into the early 2000s. They made their machines in Japan. They made a quality product, with the exception of the AG line. The AG line was absolute garbage. They had perfect letters for that. They were junk. But their consumer line was actually pretty good. And I got one here that is a late, so I think it's in 1999, one of the last ones they made in Japan before they moved overseas. Let's check it out. Got a Panasonic VHS machine. It's got a little note on it that says bad caps, question mark. Well, let's find out. Let's take a look at it. What is it? It's a PV9450. This one originally came from the Dance Center Society. They got their address on the back. That's not who brought it to me. They must have picked it up from them. Well, it looks like it's got a little owie here in the top cabinet. We'll just remove the top cabinet from this unit and see what it is doing inside before I even plug it in. This one's made in Japan from 1999, so it's an older machine. It's 25 years old. This is probably one of the last machines that Matsushita, or Panasonic, actually made in Japan, because I believe they moved the factory to Indonesia around that time. I remember seeing some machines from, I think it was Indonesia. I'm sure I've got all the screws out. The top doesn't want to come off. Well, we'll just make it come off. Nice simple mechanism. We'll fire it up and see what it does. See if we get any smoke. Turn on the telly. It does not have a picture. It almost looks like Dirty Heads, actually. It looks a lot like Dirty Heads. Is that all that's going to be wrong with this thing? Is Dirty Heads? Well, let's try cleaning them. I have snow. I don't have a picture at all, just snow. Yes, I do press quite hard. Press your thumb on there. That's why I'm grabbing the back, so I can give it a little bit of extra torque. You do have to put a bit of pressure on here. You don't have to worry about the heads being damaged when you're cleaning them this way with a piece of paper. It will not damage the heads. I would say that the head drum is a bit dirty. We used to use the chamois cleaning sticks, which you can still buy. They're just expensive. The little chamois on the plastic sticks. They're expensive. They don't work any better. This works every bit as well as the chamois. And it's basically free. And I have a picture. Oh, it doesn't get any simpler than that. Those lines are the TV, by the way. Those are the plasma causing that. If I bring my hand anywhere near the head drum, you'll see that the lines will increase. If I put the top cover on, it should reduce them substantially. Well, maybe once I get the ground in place, I got to do the screws up to ground it. But that's just residual interference coming from the power supply and from the actual plasma panel. This being an old generation plasma, this is a very old set. It's 20 years old. I think it's over 20 years old. I think that's a 2003 model, if I'm not mistaken. It's an old one. It's not even HD. It's a standard definition. Draws lots of power. I think it has about 17 circuit boards. I mean, I did a video on the repair on this one. It was given to me years ago, and what was wrong with it was there was a shorted coil in one of the buck converters for the tuner, the analog tuner. So I just eliminated it and put a jumper wire over the coil that was shorted to ground. And now it only tunes up to, I think it only tunes up to about channel 17 on the UHF side. Doesn't matter. I just use it as a monitor. And all the RF signals I have here in the house are below that in terms of frequency. They're all on the VHF band. But it's working. Doesn't get any simpler than that, does it? We'll make sure that all the functions are working. How's rewind look? Now this is a short tape, so it's not going to go full speed on this. But I will put a longer tape in it. We'll just check it out and make sure that it's going to go full speed ahead. We'll fly Titanic through it at high speed. Fast forward. Okay, let me stop it. This should kick into a higher speed. There it goes. Now it's gonna go into full speed now. And they move along pretty quick. You can't see the tape in here, but it is flying along pretty quick. I guess you can from this side. You can see how fast that's moving. It's moving pretty good. I'll go to rewind. I'll lubricate the mechanism while I've got it apart, since I've got my lithium grease sitting right next to me as I just finished another machine. Just worked on that Sony, owned by the same fellow. Well, these machines slow down when the tape gets to the start. That's the cassette that's making noise, by the way. That's a roller in the cassette. They roll back to the beginning and stop gracefully. As I was watching it roll back to the beginning, it almost looks like maybe there's a belt that's slipping. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the chassis, and we're just going to look on the bottom and see whether it does have a slipping belt. I think the chassis comes out on this one fairly easy. There was a time when Panasonic made chassis that were really easy to remove. And I think this might be one of them. Pop the front off. Remove the red screws. And the whole chassis should lift out. Probably wouldn't hurt to clean the mode switch while I'm in there. I know I didn't do that on the SLV R1000 just because they're a pain in the ass to get to, and there was no reason to get down there. It was working. Lift that out. There's two more screws on the front here that I have to release. And they tell us that there's arrows on here to tell you about the screws down below. Although anybody who's worked on these before will know that, but for those of you that have never worked on one of these, there are two more screws to remove, and then the chassis should just unplug, lift straight out, just like that. Oh, belt's okay, it's not broken. And for those of you that wonder, this was probably one of the best machines that Panasonic ever made. The parts count on this is really low, and they are very reliable machines. It takes a lot to break one of these. It's actually nice and tight. Mode switch is right here on this one. It's easy to clean. Normally you would, I push the basket forward in order to in order to get the screws out. Normally you'd pull it back. So this was in the home position, so it's in the starting position. It only goes in one way. It is keyed, but it's like that. And it tells you where the home position is. But it is keyed here, so you can only put it in one way. So just make sure that it is pretty much facing straight back, like that, when you start. Otherwise you could break the switch itself, although it will try to self-center. The home position is identified. There's an arrow right there. So you just line those up. That's the ejected position. The switch should just pop apart if you're careful. So just lift apart just like that. Then we can clean the gunge out of the switch itself. As you can see, it needs it. All these machines need to be cleaned when they've been sitting around forever, like these machines usually have been. Someone's trying to get my attention. I'm ignoring them. That's Big Joe, by the way, that's squawking. Big Joe wants me to throw something for him. Or he could be hungry. One of the two. But he's going to sit there and make noise until I pay attention. I'll be right back. I'll give the contacts some deoxit. This is the D100, the pure cleaner. I'll just put a little bit on here. This is just to keep the contacts clean and to lubricate the switch. I could use Neutral as well. Just this was easier to grab. And I don't really need a spray for this because the switch is already apart, so it's easy enough just to put it onto the switch, put the switch back together, and rotate it a few times, and then put it back in the home position, ready for reassembly. This one has to be one of my favorite Panasonic chassis as far as serviceability goes. I mean, it was great because everything was just plugged in, right? There were connectors that plugged in on the side of the board here, right? Edge connector there, another one there, and one over here, and it just dropped in, and then a couple more for the tape end sensors, right? Or no, it's actually for the erase head. The tape end sensors are here, right? LED stack, the two end sensors, the reel detectors to detect if the reels are turning. They just went in through those little slots there. You'll see it's a slotted type. It's not a reflective, but it's a slotted type of a reel table. And no surface mounted capacitors to be found on this one. We'll put a bit of grease just on the bottom of the rails here. Again, a little bit on the top side. Don't need much. There's some already there. We'll put some more on the top here. Just enough, just to give it a bit of lubrication. And we can lubricate the cam here a bit. And this gear. And put a little bit of grease into the bottom of the cam on this side. And on the slide cam here. That should probably be adequate. Easy thing to do is locate the infrared. That's in the center. Once you locate that, just line it up by sight, look through it so you can see the infrared LED from below, and it's easy to line up like that. Drop it in place. And then everything else will just drop into place. Once it's in place, just give it a push and it will seat. This is the grounding system, by the way. These screws here. I guess this one, oh, that one goes down here. That one grounds the ground strap to the board. This one here is a secondary ground to ground the chassis. And then there's another one that goes in the back. This one went on the bottom. That's the ground the board to the shield on the bottom. Pull the mechanism back, open the door, and then the front just pops on. Just like that. Alright, let's check it out, make sure everything's working. I haven't cleaned the audio control head yet. I will do that momentarily. But we'll make sure that we have color bars and everything else is working properly. And that's affirmative. You'll notice on these machines, if you look at the way the transport is, this has gone back to more of the original VHS design. I actually like this design better than the one with the tower gear. This was the original design. As you'll notice, the pinch roller is on the back side of the tape. And these ones are pretty reliable. They had fewer things to go wrong with this design. Now, one of the reasons why they went to the other design that had that extra guide that pulled the tape out this way so that the tape went up, around, and then over this way and back, and they had the capstan mounted further back with the pinch roller that dropped down around the tape and then compressed against the pinch roller. One of the reasons they did that was to reduce the angle that the tape took when it went around the guides. This was really quite a sharp angle. Your tape is reversing its direction only almost 180 degrees right here, and the train of thought was that that was too sharp an angle to rewind and fast forward the tape at full speed, that the tape itself would be physically damaged. So by moving the capstan back to here and having that extra guide pull the tape out, like the last machine that I looked at, the Sony V1000, SLV R1000, reducing the angle would reduce drag on the tape and reduce tension. That's why they did it. But it turned out in the end that it really wasn't necessary, because these machines do a full load or full fast forward rewind with the tape fully loaded, and they're not worse for wear. Fewer moving parts in this design. Anyway, this one's done. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.